You've been favoring the idea of living wills for banks. Do you want to discuss that?
First of all, everybody has to know what a living will is.
Mm-hmm.
You're here, you're here, you're here. And if you're smart, you'll have a living will. What does a living will say? It says, if I become incapacitated, if I'm hit by a bus and I don't know where I am, but I'm still alive, consult this document. And in the document it says, here's what I want to happen if I'm not dead, but I'm seriously incapacitated. I appoint 1, 2, 3, these people, and these 3 things should happen with my estate or with what. And everybody should have one of those, I believe. That's a living will. Means I wrote this when I'm healthy, sound of mind, and feeling good, and I'm anticipating a day I don't even want to think about where I'm seriously ill, I'm hit by a bus or whatever, and the living will becomes the governing document. And it saves all the arguing in courts and wrangling and so on. People just say, here's what he wanted. Well, Mario Draghi, how do you pronounce his name?
Draghi?
Draghi?
Yeah.
The governor of the Bank of Italy had this, although he didn't invent the idea, that banks should have living wills. In other words, you should have a piece of paper that says, if this bank starts to get into serious trouble, and maybe the people who run the bank don't even know it, but they're in that daze having been hit by some invisible bus, then these things have to happen. These people have to take over, and they have to take these actions. And you have to take that living will and put it somewhere safe so that you can find it when this happens. I think that's a very good idea. And then the question is, what's incapacitated? What's the equivalent of being hit by the bus?
Yeah, well, we saw it with Lehman, where the Treasury, I believe, claimed they didn't have the legal right to do this. And Lehman had probably not prepared such a document. So that sort of seems, in hindsight, the classic case where if the government had been allowed to step in and knew how to wind it down, we might not have seen this sort of September 15th, 2008 collapse to the same degree.
I think the idea of institutions having living wills is an excellent one. I know you're going to get an echo from this saying, it wasn't the banks who were the problem. It was the non-banks, the shadow banks. And that's true. And then you get into the whole too big to fail argument. And that's going to take some working through. But what we don't want is to pretend that nothing happened. And so that life can roll along, and certain people are making lots and lots of money, and they're quite willing to be Brazilians living behind armed gates and having bodyguards just give them their money. But the rest of us don't want to live like that. Again, go back to Volcker. I don't know if he ever articulated it publicly, but it's really the idea of a civil society. And there are none of your clients, none of your readers, none of your viewers who don't want to live in a civil society.